She grew up in the Northeast, but was told to go home even though she already thought she was.
Newcastle actually turned 900 when I was a kid. We learned so much about the Northeast and about Newcastle, but then learning about my Ashanti heritage as well, all that brought with it has been really important to me and really informed who I am.
Born to Ghanaian father and a Geordie mother, she learned early how racism and sexism try to shrink ambition, especially in a girl who refuses to be quiet.
I'm a person who loves all types of cultures, so I'm always want to find out more about people and about their religion I find people fascinating, I find cultures fascinating, so the more I can learn about my own cultures, the better.
Instead of choosing sides, she claimed them all: heritage, community, compassion.
So I got my first taste of leadership probably when I was 8 or 9.
Today, she leads one of the region's most vital institutions, challenges silence with truth through Black all year, and shapes a new kind of leadership, brave, human, and unapologetic. If you were to then define what makes a good leader today, what would you say?
One of the key things is
mother, author, dance teacher, and now honorary doctor of civil law. This is Steph Edusei, and this is Critical Facts. To the person who's listened to this, who doesn't know who Steph is, could you introduce yourself and in a few sentences tell them why this conversation would matter?
Okay, so I'm Steph Edusei. I'm what I describe as an Ashanti Geordie. I'm a mother. I am a community member. I am Chief Executive of St Oswald's Hospice, which is a large children's and adults hospice in the northeast of England. I am an author. I'm a dance teacher. I do about 1,000,001 things and love all of them. But for me, I think the reasons I think people should listen to this is that they will hopefully hear about a different style of leadership, and a leadership that's informed by my culture and my upbringing, and a style of leadership that is modern and compassionate and successful.
Speaking of upbringing, you are mixed racial.
Yeah.
Born to a Ghanaian father.
Yeah.
And a Geordie mother. Mm-hmm. How was life like growing up?
You know what? I kind of describe parts of my life. So my early childhood was incredibly happy. I grew up in Newcastle. I have an older sibling, so my sister's about 6 years older than me. My brother, there's less than 2 years between us. And we were really, really happy. I had family around me. We had extended family, loads of, you know what's like, aunties and uncles, who I then found out weren't actually related to us, all of that type of thing. But it was a very, very happy time when I was a child, up until about the age of 11 or 12. And then I really started to feel like I didn't belong, like I didn't fit in, like I wasn't good enough. And obviously, this was the 70s and the 80s, and there was a lot of that coming out where we were. People actually physically telling us that we didn't belong and we should go back home, which confused me because I thought, well, I am home. But there was that type of thing, and people really being quite overtly racist. I mean, I grew up through the whole Enoch Powell, Rivers of Blood, all that type of thing, and the skinheads and NF and what have you. But also a very sexist time. So being a woman as well, I had all of that, and I've always been ambitious and I've always wanted to succeed, and kind of thinking that I was being put in a pigeonhole was really quite challenging. So and then I had the whole thing of my family wanted me to go to university and wanted me to do certain things. You know, my dad really wanted me to be a lawyer because I can talk and argue. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to perform. So that really took me into a bit of conflict, I think, but absolutely loved all parts of my culture. So I think being a Geordie, I've got a really rich northeastern heritage. Newcastle actually turned 900 when I was a kid, and we learnt so much about the northeast and about Newcastle. But then learning about my Ashanti heritage as well, and all that brought with it has been really important to me and really informed who I am.
You're one of those rare people who has somehow found a way to not lose their roots. And, you've adapted to a new culture, so to speak, yet you embrace the Africa in you. How do you do that? I mean, because what I find oftentimes is people tend to pick one or the other. How do you find that balance?
It's just me. I mean, I didn't actually get to go to Ghana until I was about 26. It was just too expensive for us all to go. And I can remember getting off the plane and that heat that hits you, and the smell of what I now recognise as the fuel smell. And I woke up the next morning at about 6 o'clock in the morning. I actually went with the guides. I was staying at the Girl Guiding Centre in Accra. And hearing the noises and hearing Accra wake up around me. And I just thought, I'm home. It was the weirdest thing. I just feel comfortable in that part of my culture, in the same way that when I'm safe here, I feel really comfortable as a Geordie as well. And I'm a person who loves all types of cultures, so I'm always wanting to find out more about people and about their religion and their kind of the things that they do and their practices. I find people fascinating. I find cultures fascinating. So the more I can learn about my own cultures, the better.
So there's an openness that needs to come with it, just being willing to absorb and explore.
That's it. And to challenge as well. I'm quite happy to go, that's crackers, and why are we still doing that? And things like that.
The lawyer in you.
That's it. It's not that I just take everything as read, but I remember learning about Ashanti funeral rites and sitting and going, well, I know what the belief is behind that, and it's really funny now running hospice that I can sit and go, yeah, I recognise, actually, regardless of what is said about why we do that, I understand why it's actually important for humans to go through that experience and how that's about taking care of people and that type of thing.
Rolling back slightly to that time when you were growing up, and I think Newcastle and the Northeast in general has changed a lot from that time to what it is now. I'm sure there's a lot more colour than there was back in the day.
Thank goodness.
But still, you did say some time ago about the fact that when you started out the Black All Year podcast, it was born out of a meeting where you felt like there was a lot of silence, I mean, to find your own words, I think you said something about the meeting, the silence on racism spoke volumes, and just wondering, could you take us back to that meeting and help us understand why that kind of gave birth to a need to create that podcast?
I think there've actually been countless meetings, and I think since then, actually, this idea of, so I'm still quite often in meetings when we talk about diversity, and the second you talk about diversity, people think you mean racism or race for a start. But actually, when you start talking about racism, people are very, very uncomfortable. And they actually quite often don't want to call it racism as well. So there's an example, I'm not going to name the organisation, but they have been called out for their racism locally. And what they've decided to do is, rather than tackle racism and be anti-racist, they've called it civility, because it's all about civility. People should just be civil to each other. They don't think people have been racist, they've just been incivil. So you quite often will get this kind of, I'm sitting there in a meeting and somebody will say something or not say something. And I can see that people around the table are uncomfortable about that. But it's very, very rare that somebody will call it what it is. They'll either skirt over it or they'll say, I think what you meant to say was. So I'm still quite frequently told, oh no, they're not racist. That's not racist. And I'm very clear with people that if you say something that's racist, then you are a racist. If you associate with racists, you are a racist. And for these people that go into politics, who are willing to side with racists to further their own ends, they're racist as well. It's just very, very clear to me that there isn't any in between or any grey area. If you're willing to accept those views and kind of swallow that bitter pill, then basically you're being racist as well.
Is there any part of racism that the black people encourage in any way? I mean, do we play a part in how this actually all plays out?
Not in racism. No, not at all. I think there are things that we as a culture and the community don't necessarily do to help ourselves sometimes. And I think there are things that particularly professionally, we need to be better at. But that's not about racism. That's about us being able to shed our own stereotypes. So I'll give an example. Timekeeping. Not that I was particularly on time today, but there is this thing about African time. Well, and you get it with South Asians as well. Oh, it's Delhi New Time. But when you're in a professional environment, you can't do that. And if you are late, you're late. You don't blame it on your culture, because that's a nonsense. And actually, some of the behaviours that we see here sometimes from some people, and they'll go, oh, it's my culture. If you were in Nigeria or Ghana, you wouldn't get away with that. You'd be sacked. So I think sometimes we don't do ourselves any favours, but that's not about racism. That's not our
stereotypes,
fault.
That we promote.
That's it. Well, to say that we're responsible for our own oppression, no, not at all. We do sometimes hold our own oppression. So we will see people, and we've got somebody very prominent in Kemi Badenoch, I think, who is somebody who is holding her own oppression. She fully owns that and is putting it out there. And my heart, it sounds weird, but I actually feel really sorry for her that she's either willing to compromise herself for power, or she genuinely hates herself to that extent that she's showing that level of inner oppression.
Are you familiar with that? There was this parable that Malcolm X once talked about, and I think it was about the Negro in the house, something like that.
Yeah, the house Negro. Yeah.
The fact that, of course, based on old culture in the American, where people would have that one black person who's in the house who has the privilege. So there's the field Negro, then there's the house Negro, and the house Negro has certain privileges. And somehow it looks like we're still living out that reality now, where there are house Negroes who seem to want to put every other person down in order to gain favors from their oppressors, so to speak. Is that something that you still see? I mean, I think you literally just described it.
Yeah, you do. And it's interesting because I see similarities between that and women, actually, in that you'll get black people who have got a level of success, and they will then they'll do whatever they can to retain that and to grow that, even if that means siding with people who are oppressing people like them. And part of that, I think, is actually about the fact that we are told that these positions are scarce.
Yeah.
It's you're really lucky to be in the position that you are. So then you're worried about the fact that, well, I've got this position, and if somebody else like me comes along, then they're going to replace me. So what I need to do is keep anybody like me away. And then that's kind of the thing of, well, I'm sitting there thinking the only reason I'm here is because of the colour of my skin or my gender or whatever. And sometimes we're told that. I mean, I've had a position I was told that. Pretty much. I mean, I was a diversity hire. And I knew that, but I was willing to accept it because I thought that was an intentional step they'd taken to increase the diversity of the group. what I realised was actually they just wanted a brown face. They didn't want anything that brought with it, and they weren't willing to accept change or listen to what I had, what I knew. They just wanted a brown face.
Can we change that?
We can, but it depends who you mean by we.
We, as the African people, you know, the ones who are being offered jobs that are, well, not on merit as much as they are on someone's quota of diversity.
Well, I'm going to challenge you a little bit on the not on merit, because nobody's getting a job.
Maybe I should say not exclusively on merit. Not exclusively on merit. Yeah, if they would tell me to my face and say, well, it's not just because you're good for it, but because, well, you look good for it. That kind of thing. That's
it. And it's, you know, I think there's still that we don't just have to be at the bar, we've got to be above the bar. But then actually, if you're diverse, then that's great as well. I think we can, but what I say to people is, don't be afraid to take those posts, but look at the organisation and look at have they done their work. Because that was the problem I did. I didn't listen to what was being said to me, first of all, because I was a bit flattered that I was being kind of invited to apply. But also, I didn't look to see, has that organisation done the work so that they're ready for me? Because what you don't want to do is go into what's effectively a hostile environment, because you can't make any difference. Right. So if you're going into somewhere that's actually sat and thought about anti-racism and what it means to have black people in their organisation, on their board, whatever, and how they're going to support and challenge each other, then that's great. Yeah, go ahead and step into those roles and then keep the door open for others. But if they haven't done that work, really, really think hard about stepping into it, because it's a brutal place.
Give me 30 seconds to interrupt your interview very quickly. The reason I make these videos is because for far too long, the African story has been told by other people but us. And so, at Critical Factor, the core goal is to spotlight African excellence wherever it is across the world. And if that is something that resonates with you, please support the channel by simply subscribing to the channel and, of course, sharing this so that other people can see it. And without saying too much, let's get back to the interview. I think keeping the door open, that's one thing I don't feel like we do enough of. I was interestingly having a conversation with my wife this week, and this is funny, because she was talking about someone who was moving next door and said, this person potentially could be a black person. And I said, do we actually want a black person to move there? And then I said, why are we actually having that conversation? You know, we should ask ourselves, why would we not want a black person to move next door? Say, well, sometimes you just don't know what you get. But then do you know what you get with if it's a different person as well? You know, exactly. So somehow, and it was an actual point of discussion for us to say, you see, this is funny, because we talk about how we are sometimes our own worst enemies, but it's in subtle things. Because somehow in our subconscious, it seems it's ingrained there where we just feel like, I'll trust somebody else rather than someone who looks like me. Why is that?
You know what, though? I wonder in that conversation, what the difference is that as black people, if we do something wrong, it's not me, Steph, that's done something wrong. It's that black woman did something wrong. And therefore, that colours the impression that they have of every black woman.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's a white person in the UK,
she's just one man, just one person.
Well, people don't even comment on it, do they? I mean, you look at the press, and you've got a white person commits a crime, their ethnicity isn't mentioned.
Yeah,
they could be Australian, probably wouldn't be mentioned. But if it was a black African, it would, you know, a black Ghanaian person does X, Y, and Z. So I think it's that. I wonder how much of it is actually about, we're worried that that person next door, it's not that they might not be a nice person, it's that they might be a problem, and that because of the way people perceive them, they'll then link that problem to us.
Wow. Actually never thought of it that way, but that is so true. That could be influencing us in so many ways. And I think that's why telling our stories is important as well. Because if we don't own the narrative, Someone else is always telling it.
Yeah.
And whatever they say becomes the truth.
Yeah.
Even
And
if it's not.
we hold each other to extremely high standards. We've all been told that you've got to be 3-4 times better than the next person. And we do. We expect, when we're looking for good behaviour, we expect exceptional behaviour. It's not enough just to be good. You've got to be exceptional. And then if you're bad, you're rotten.
Really bad. I think one of these things you've obviously been the leader of the Girls Guide for 30 years now, I believe. And those early days mentoring, how did that shape your style of leadership today?
It's funny because I've been in girl guiding now since I was 7. Wow. So what's that? 46 years I've been a member of girl guiding. And I think that my style of leadership was shaped from the age of 7. So I got my first taste of leadership probably when I was 8 or 9 as a sixer in brownies. And you kind of had a little bit of responsibility, but actually it was very collaborative. Girl guiding is very collaborative. As a leader, it's very much trying to help the girls to do what they want to do, and so you have to understand what it is that they want to do and make a balanced program out of it and get them to take responsibility and things like that. So it's a very collaborative style of leadership. But I think actually I've been really blessed in girl guiding in that it's a female organisation. It's a women-led organisation where on the whole the women are very supportive of each other. So that whole thing of competition hasn't been there. So this whole idea of we're just here to lift each other up has been bred into me from a very, very early age. That idea of, we've all got different skills and talents. You pull on those different skills and talents, but you celebrate everybody as well. So that's all come from guiding and that giving people a bit of responsibility, and when they can do that, you give them a bit more and you give them a bit more. That's all rooted in my guiding experience.
And going on the back of that, if you were to then define what makes a good leader today, what would you say?
One of the key things is the ability to accept that you and everybody else makes mistakes. I see all too often leaders who will pretend that they didn't make a mistake or blame somebody else for the mistake. And when you're willing to go, I messed that up, didn't I? That gives everybody else permission to go, yeah, actually, I messed it up as well. But they see you as human. And people learn from mistakes. The best inventions have come from multiple mistakes. Yeah. So I think that humility to go, I'm not perfect, nobody is. We all mess up. But also when you accept that you're going to make mistakes, you also are accepting in that you're not going to be the best at everything. I know I'm rubbish at some things. I know I am absolutely appalling at some things, and I'm really blessed because I've got an amazing team around me who can do the stuff that I can't. I was just saying this week to some staff, the thing that I've got to do is my bread and butter. It's where I excel. So they need to trust me to deliver this one. I can do this. I wouldn't go and treat patients. That's not my fault. I can chat to the patient, but I haven't got the attention of detail to be a nurse or a doctor. I just couldn't. So it's about knowing and appreciating other people's strengths, but you've got to have that humility to be able to go, I'm rubbish at that. That's really not my thing. And that's okay. It doesn't make me a bad person or a weaker person.
Is that what you mean then when, in your book, you have that beautiful book, a little book of leadership lessons. And I think your tagline there says, leadership isn't about perfection. It's about authenticity. Yeah. So, is that what you mean when you say being authentic enough to know where my strengths are and where my weaknesses are?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not, if leadership, well, there's no such thing as perfect for a start. But if leadership was about being perfect, I wouldn't be a leader. Let's just put it that way.
Makes two of us.
I mess up all the time, and hopefully the mistakes are small or they can be fixed. But if you don't learn from them, that's the problem. Yeah. If you make mistakes and you keep making the same mistake over and over and over again, that's when it's a problem.
So you've managed to build a successful career, as a person of color in a predominantly white environment. Mm-hmm. To that person who's watching now, who's just starting out in their career, what would be your advice to them?
Get the right people around you. I've been truly blessed to have some amazing people in my life, personally and professionally. Having the right people, professionally particularly, who can support me, advise me, point me in the right direction, block me when I've needed to be blocked, give me a kick up the backside when I've needed that, be cheerleaders have been really, really important. And I was just thinking the other day about somebody who was probably in my professional life for about 10, 15 years. And I thought, it's really strange, I never see that person anymore. But actually, that person's not the right person to be in my life now. So it's this thing of, some people come in for a season, yeah. He was there for a season and it was right at that time. It's not right now
anymore.
So being able to get the right people for who you are at that stage in your career and what you want to do, but knowing it's okay to let them go, or it's okay for them to let you go, and it's not a personal thing. But get a really broad, I talk about curating your group, really think about who you want to have around you, because the people that are around you, the things you consume is who you become. So think long and hard about the people that you let into that group. But yeah, get your, some people call it a virtual boardroom. I just call it my squad. Just get your squad together and know that you're part of other people's squad as well.
Speaking about just buttressing that, when we think about the seasons of life, gather around with the people who would be right for the season you're going into. You know? So the seasons change, and you should change your crew sometimes with that as well, especially if the crew you have isn't changing.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, I'd say as well with that is to, really enjoy what you're doing now, but have an eye on the future. I've done a few things where I thought, I love what I'm doing. This is great. And then I suddenly go, oh, it's not great anymore. But I should have probably thought about that 6-9 months earlier. So I've then had a year or so of just gone, I've got to do this again. So there's something about really being where you are, but have an eye on maybe not what's 3 or 4 steps ahead, because you never know, but actually what might I want to do next? And even though I absolutely adore being at St. Oswald's Hospice, every so often I go, would I want to do something else? And because the answer is no, I know I'm in the right place. And as long as it carries on being no, and not even a, it's just a flat out no, I know I'm in the right place.
And I don't think we all ask ourselves that question enough, do we? Maybe because we don't want to face the answers.
And actually, I think sometimes it's that we're just busy being and doing, that we don't ever take that little, okay, is this still right for me? In the same way, is this person still right? We're just doing, and then we go, oh, no, it's not.
I'm not leaving. I'm going to draw this back to Nigeria briefly, because I know you mentioned, or did I say Nigeria? No, Africa as a whole. You did mention collaboration, when we're talking about leadership and that style of leadership. And one of the things that kind of caught my eye was when I think you were talking about, this was on the Northern Women podcast, Northern Power Women podcast, something about that where you say, we don't just, leadership is not just about leading people, it's about, collaborating and helping them to flourish. And when we look at Africa and the state it's in, how much of that blame is really on leadership as much as it is the followership? Because there's also the school of thought that says that we get the kind of leaders we deserve. So what do you think? Is it the leadership? Is it the followership? Is it both?
I think that Africa is coming from a very challenging place in that it was left in a poor state. So I think that for large parts of Africa that were colonised, they had centuries of just stuff being stripped out. And then when they did get independent, if you look at Ghana, for example, a lot of the best educated, wealthiest people in Ghana were encouraged, assisted to go overseas to study. And a lot of them didn't go back, my dad included. That, again, just stripped more out of the continent. And I think we've suffered from that for a very long time. And I don't think it's surprising that when you're living hand to mouth, you want things quick, you take the easy answers and all that type of thing, and they're never the right answers, really. So I don't blame the people of Africa for where they are. But to come to your point about leaders and followers, I think what's interesting now is I'm seeing a new breed of leaders emerging in Africa. And I think it's particularly West Africa, I think it is really quite exciting, some of the stuff that's going on where people are maybe throwing off a bit of that deference that we've always had to the colonizers. It's that kind of, you know what? No, we are powerful, we are strong, we're intelligent, we have resources, and if you want them, you're going to have to pay a fair price for them and do it on our terms instead of us being really grateful for the crumbs that you give us. That I think is interesting. And is that about the leader emerging, or is it about the followers? It's probably about just the two things coming at the right time. So yeah, I'm really quite excited to see where that goes. I hope it continues, because there's some great stuff going on.
So that African who has migrated here and now then, and is trying to find their foot, but then have felt or dealt with their level of racism, because I have come across quite a few in just my few short years here. Yeah. What would be your word to them in this moment?
I'm going to go back to that network. You need your support network. But I think that it's really important that we don't just stay with our own. It's a really easy thing to do, is to just mix outside of a work environment with people that you feel comfortable with. I think there is something about really going out, getting involved in the wider community, because there are loads of wonderful people here. Like I say, I've encountered racism throughout my entire life, but actually I have loads of friends who are white and I know would step in and fight for me. So it's about building up that network as well. You need those allies. We're not going to do anything if we don't have allies. I keep saying to people, if ending racism was within our gift, it would have been dead and gone a long, long time ago. So actually we need those allies and building those allies. But when you do that, when you mix with white people, they learn about you and they learn that actually you're not big, bad and scary, and that you're not so strange, and actually that we all want the same stuff. We all want love, we all want shelter, we all want purpose. They learn that as well. So it's a really, really good way. But make sure you've got the people you can feel safe around, and then branch out a bit and stretch out. I don't like kind of people who actually the only people they ever mix with outside of a work environment are black people, because I think you're just narrowing your world or narrowing your experience.
I mean, why live in a white world if you wouldn't mix with them, right?
Yeah, and you know what? Even this is the thing that I had an interesting comment on social media where I'd used the term global majority. And a white person commented saying, "Are you really saying that white people are in the minority in this world?" And I kind of went, "Well, yeah, of course you are. Did you really think you were?" But this is the thing, that they are white people are so prioritized across the globe that we've got to get on with white people, and we've got to kind of cohabit with them. I have a white partner who I love dearly, and he's amazing, and he is one of those people that would stand in front of guns for me, and actually for anybody who was experiencing racism. So there are loads of amazing people out there, so get out and find them.
As a closing tradition, we like to ask people what they think is a critical factor to success in whatever field. And for you as a leader, what would you say is a critical factor to success?
Oh, I've probably covered quite a few things that I would say, but I think it is that humility, confident humility, I would say, because you can be overly humble. So get your confidence, know your own worth, but be a little bit humble with it as well.
Where do you draw your worth from?
It took me a long time to get there, and I had to do a lot of work on imposter phenomenon. I get it from the work I've done, the things I've achieved, and the people around me. Like I say, I've got fantastic people around me, and I think if I was really bad and if I wasn't worth it, these amazing people wouldn't want to be with me. So I used to think people tolerated me, and now know that people like to be around me, and that means that I'm worth something.
Awesome. Well, if it's any proof, I love being around you. And this has been a good interview. So thank you so much for showing up, Steph. This has been absolutely
thank you.
beautiful.
It's been great.
And, I think that's a wrap at this point.